I did my hand panning microfine gold latest edition, and I've had a lot of people join up since then, thousands of you. Thank you very much. I hope I'm doing a good job teaching you what I know, which is only so much to begin with. I'm not the greatest genius on this stuff on the planet. But, so I thought I would do a review of the hand panning microfine gold, so that those of you like who just came in, I got 20 subscribers in the last week, and they may be looking at the results of the speed prospecting and the test results on the jet dry and going, how the hell does he do that? Well, I'm going to show you again. Now, when I'm talking microfine gold, I'm basically talking something below 100 mesh. I'm recovering gold that I've seen down to about 500 mesh, down to literally less than 25 microns. So I'm getting some pretty fine gold, and I can do it quickly and fairly easily. It doesn't take a lot of stuff. I'm completely set up right here. So it's a very, very valuable technique. You can do a lot of stuff with it. You can test the tailings of your placer operation. You can, do speed prospecting. You can do ore grade control in a mine. You can do process control. There's a lot of things. When you want to know how much gold is there, you don't need to do an assay necessarily nowadays. You can simply do a pan. That's what they used to do. That's how come you go into an old mine, all of a sudden you see this pocket there. Well, why do they know that it get that? It's real simple. They were panning stuff. So they had real-time ore grade control, and I'll show you how to do that now. Now the first thing you're going to have is a sample. You want to measure your samples so you have consistent results. In other words, you can compare apples to apples. You got twice as much rock, you see twice as much gold, it just makes it tough. So always use a standardized sample. You're going to need a sieve of some sort. Now, you can go with window screen. You go down to Ace and get a scrap of window screen or something and make one. That'll work okay. I generally like to use a 30 mesh large classifier like this, because the input on my table that I'm testing and trying to develop, it's screened at 30 mesh for mineral liberation, as just a rough guess as to what'll work. And it's a bigger screen, and therefore it'll screen faster. Now you can use a 12-inch pan, a 10-inch pan. I generally like to use a 10-inch pan just because it's a little easier. A 12-inch pan, that's what I used on lesson 24. If you want to see what it looks like when you're dealing with window screen size material, go to lesson 24. It was about 2 years ago. Now another thing that's very important about the pan is right at the bottom here, this needs to be a simple angle. You have a side slope and a bottom with a sharp edge in between them. That's important. I don't know the physics of it, but I've tested it. It is important. This pan has a side slope where it's got a flat bottom, a vertical wall, and then the side slope. This does not work with this technique. So if you got a pan like this and you're wondering what's going wrong, that's probably it. These particular black plastic pans seem to have the right texture and plastic and everything to work. This big one here is an Est-Wing. Seems to work real well. I'm not sure what the brand is here. I like these because they got the two ridges, but I really haven't been able to figure out who they are. They don't have any identifying marks on them. If anyone knows who makes this pan, please give me a comment because I'd like to get some brand new ones. You're going to need 2 basins. That's really important, especially when you're getting started, because the first basin gets really, really dirty really, really fast. If you're going to be doing a lot of samples and it's not speed prospecting, well, actually you can even do speed prospecting as long as you don't care if you mess up your bucket-sized samples. So you can use a much bigger tub. I have a big one over there that I'll usually do when I'm doing process control and stuff like that. Then I'll have just one of these tubs set up for the finish panning. You're going to want one to get dirty, one to stay clean, because you need to be able to see what's happening in the final stages. You're going to need a loop or really good eyes. Some people have good enough eyes. I don't. I'm 63. I can't do that anymore. A loop, a magnifier, anything. A magnet will often come in handy when you've got a lot of magnetic heavies. 737. Anyhow, when you've got a lot of heavies, a magnet comes in handy. It's also good for getting out tramp iron from your grinding process. Sometimes you get a lot of iron in there, steel. This can be handy. Use it at the last. Once you get down to the last little bit, because that iron will help hold the gold and keep it in place. And then you just come in there, spread it out a little bit to make sure it doesn't trap any, and pull the iron out. You're going to need some kind of surfactant, something to break the surface tension. The two most popular are Dawn and Jet Dry Finish. I did a video, one or two videos ago about these. I'll tell you more. I just tried Tide because this has a foaming inhibitor. You don't want a lot of foaming in your washing machine. It seems to work just fine. It does about the same kind of suds as Jet Dry does, a heck of a lot cheaper. So you want one of those. The Dawn worked at 1/16 a teaspoon per gallon of water. The Jet Dry worked more like a quarter a teaspoon to a half a teaspoon per gallon of water. This I only tested once, and it was at the half a teaspoon, or no, quarter teaspoon per gallon of water. So it works in the same range as these do. I didn't feel like doing 27,000 pans. It's getting like 90 degrees here in Arizona now. So that's what we have. We have two tubs. We have a pan, a classifier, and some kind of surfactant, and the measuring spoons are to measure your surfactant. Not critical as long as you get above a certain threshold. So let's start the process. First thing we do is we take the sample, put it in the screen, and classify it. That didn't take too long. This pan is too big to use on these tubs. At this point, I'm going to change the camera angle so you can see what I'm doing better. Okay, I'll have to reach around the camera a little bit, but I think this will work out just fine. First thing is put a little water in here and stir it up. You don't put it underneath the surface here, because if any gold wants to try and float on you, it can't get out of the pan right here. It can't float away till after you've had a chance to get everything all nice and wet. At this point, put a little more water in there. Now I find it usually works best to do a circular motion initially to get the stuff liquefied. Take your fingers, stick it in there, make sure that they go right to the bottom with no resistance. If your fingers can do it, the gold can penetrate pretty well. See how dirty the water gets, like that fast. Now, people have trouble with this. You got to continue shaking while you tip. Look at the lip. When you see it distort a little bit, that's because there's solids starting to go over there. You stop at that point. Wash low. Do not get back here. This is where your heavies are. You don't want to touch those. You can also just let the lighter materials go off a little bit like that if you want. You could even get a little bit more. And this whole process should take somewhere around 5 to 6 minutes, start to finish. As you can see, it's getting smaller and smaller real quick. Now at this point, these corners right here, you may start seeing some gold if you got good ore. If it's hard rock ore and it's what you're really looking for, you'll start seeing little bits of gold right there, little points. Now, what I'm doing is I'm panning till these sides are basically parallel, stopping to freeze it in place, tipping a little more, and then taking out 1/3 of the material. You always bring it back to level and shake until the charge is slumped so that the gold comes back down to the bottom here. It's not out here on this edge where it can keep working its way up. If you just go like this and dump it and then shake it and dump it like that, it can work its way up the edge and over. You don't want that. You also want to use these little riffles here. I like these particular pans. I got a couple little riffles, not a whole bunch of big aggressive ones. And I did some testing, and that'll either be a separate video, depending on how long this one goes, or it'll be at the end of this video before the credits. Now at this point, where you switch to another pan. This is where it's really important to have clean water. And to keep your water clean, on the first pan I generally like to pour it out into the other one. That way if there's any silt or whatever. And at this point, you can't really see it too well. There's a little bit of gold showing up there. Now, I like to put my fingers here. That's a nice reference. It also means whenever I set the pan down, I know where the gold was, because it can be pretty small and hard to find. At this point, I got everything in one pile in this sector here, close to this side, because that's where I'm going to be tapping in a second. Let in water, don't swirl that all over the place. Start tapping here. And if you look at the water, you can see I'm tipping down just a little bit on this side right here. Tap it gently. And you can see the light material just goes right to the other side. Now it's kind of hard to see. There's the gold right there. In order to get rid of as much as possible, what you do is you use your loop to locate the gold. Now, I like to wear a hat because I can't see with the sun in my eyes, but I can't see with this with the bill down. So what I do is I go gangsta style. I look, find out where one end of the gold is. Where the other end of the gold is. Draw a line between the two. See, I've marked with my pinky. Then I draw a line between the two and make sure there's no gold below that line. Looks pretty good. Then I just take this, lower it till the water is at that line, shake it back and forth, and all that material is now gone. Now I started with maybe a tablespoon of material, and now I got, I don't know what, a very, very small amount. But I want to get that gold back in one spot again. So I take this, shaking it gently, Right there. Now all the gold is right in there. I can take this. Again, being careful not to swish that around. Take it. Tilt it down a little bit. Just till you see stuff moving. Now that's a pretty observable gold line even to the naked eye, really good with the loop. That's about 1/10 of an ounce to 15 hundredths, around in there, which is consistent with what I'd expect with this material. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get some stuff that I did before, some heavies, where I've been doing some panning today. I'm going to put it all in one pan just so you can really see it happen. Now this should be a really nice looking pan when I do it. First I want to get everything in the corner. I'll go ahead and leave that extra in there. Start tapping. As you can see, it immediately just drops there. I'm adjusting the side to side and this tilt here by sight just to get everything to move the way I want. Now, dump it out. I can wash that out with confidence. Here I expect to see a whole lot more gold and heavies and just, yeah, there's all kinds of pyrite in there. Chalcopyrite. Lots of fine gold, just what I expected. Now how far? I'm going to cut it at that line there this time. And you just do this as often as you need. If you don't lose any gold and you keep getting rid of a bunch of other crap, pretty soon you're going to have some pretty concentrated gold. And you can get pretty clean gold even down to real fine material doing this. The one thing it doesn't work real well on is real coarse gold, because it'll tend to slide down. You may have to do conventional panning on that. It looks like I got a zone of gold there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip it back up here and get that back in the corner. See what I got. This has a little light on it, which comes in handy at times like this. Oh, golly, that looks like gold all right. A whole crap load of it. All the way down to there. Tip it that way, and the gold will outrace the other material. pretty. Because the materials are different sizes, and they behave a little differently, what I'm doing is I'm tilting it that way a little bit and getting the coarser heavies to head yonder. That's a trick that'll sometimes work, and that looks pretty pretty. Okay, and there you have a nice gold line there. And that's 100 mesh minus. There's some stuff, about 300 or 400 mesh. Nothing super duper fine in this batch here. This different ore from Mojave 1. But that's what it looks like. It's a very important technique to be able to do. It's not that hard, and it gives you a lot of capabilities you wouldn't have any other way. So if you're dealing with really fine gold, you need to learn this technique. Or if somebody's got another one that works just as well or better, let me know, because you need to be able to pan this stuff or life sucks. So happy prospecting, and keep it safe out there.